Hello, this is Fact-Based Truth, and you're listening to Fact-Based Truth Podcast. So I know it's been a while since I did one of these, but I've just been doing a lot of thinking and reflecting over the last couple of weeks that I've been on hiatus with the podcast. I've been doing a lot of reflecting yesterday on just understanding the connection between God and man, and then also understanding the purpose of man in this life and what it all means, which is very broad, to say the least. And I always turn to the scripture to find all of these answers, to find all of these questions answered, to just what it all means and what's important, what's significant, what's the way to understand most of this, which I know obviously we can't understand everything, but we can understand as much as we are given to understand, I think. And I was just going through a lot of the Old Testament. I was reading really just summaries of the Old Testament. What happened in Genesis, what happened in Exodus, what happened in this book and that book. And just kind of putting together what theme there is here. What's the theme here? And just thinking about it so far, I've only gotten up to, as far as looking through all of the summaries of different things, I got to Ecclesiastes before I kind of stopped for that day. And so much of the theme in Scripture is living a life honoring God, and God granting a person peace in life or rewards in life for living that life in honor to Him. And then when one chooses to live a life in dishonor to God and in disobedience to God, there become consequences that take away from the peace and the rewards that God intends for man to seem to have throughout at least what I read in the Old Testament. And then also I just noticed a theme of people just kind of doing more than just things for themselves. There's this kind of humanity focus with the people of Israel taking over so much land, or just doing all these things across the world. And I don't know, maybe it suggests something bigger, a focus that is beyond just ourself in how we live this life, which that just seemed to be something that was happening a lot, whether it was taking control of different lands, or going to war here and there against these people and those people. God was making the people of Israel work. And it, I guess, kind of harkens back to what Adam and Eve were first doing whenever they were created. They weren't created to just sit and enjoy life and just leave it at that. They were created to work the land, take charge of the land, and they have reigning power over the animals and everything. So I guess us being on this earth, there's a responsibility for us to do things, and there's bigger purpose for us to, I don't know, just do things. It seems like from just seeing the examples of what humans were doing in honor to God, what humans were doing in obedience to God. And I was just also just trying to figure out this connection that God and man were having as far as communication. And you have some books where God doesn't even communicate to the people at all in the whole book. Esther is an example. There's not one, at least to my knowledge, communication between God and Esther or I believe it was Mordecai that was also in that book as well. And you have other books where you see less and less communication between God and man, direct communication. And to me, I think that's the perspective that people don't take into consideration as much when they think about the idea of God communicating to man, that God doesn't always communicate directly to man, and that God doesn't have to communicate directly to man. That man can know through the writings that we have, and that we can know how to do things, what to do, what we're supposed to do. And it doesn't always require some kind of sign or some kind of feeling or some kind of direct confirmation or whatever people are calling it, or whatever people call it. So, I don't know. I've just been trying to figure it all out a little bit more. Because I don't get a sense of communication from God like other people seem to get. And I don't think it's as prevalent as people make it out to be. So that's why I think that's what it is. And I think a lot of times people manufacture these feelings sometimes of God told me this or God told me that, because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like they got some kind of connection with God, when maybe it was just something that they just wanted to have in order to have that kind of feeling. But I don't doubt that they don't genuinely believe that's what they hear and heard and believe is what they're supposed to do or anything like that. But in not having that kind of communication, not seeing that being a prevalent form of communication from God, I have to understand what my purpose and what my connection with God is based on. And it seems that connection with God was living in honor to God and being thankful, as Ecclesiastes points out, being thankful for the labor that God gave us to take pleasure in things. Somewhere in Ecclesiastes 2 or 3. I was reading through that. And to enjoy the life that we are thankful to have. To live in a way that honors God. And to recognize that you have a purpose bigger than just yourself, that requires you to do things for others, do things for the good of others, for the good of your fellow man. And it's just interesting so far looking through all of that. I'm gonna read through a bunch of other summaries of the Old Testament and just really kind of think about that, really kind of ponder that. What is this connection with God thing? What is this purpose that we're supposed to have in life that God created us for? And it's nice to just kind of tie it all together with the scripture that we were given to understand these things. So that's all I really have for today. I didn't really focus on a particular topic, but I think I'll come back with another podcast at some point soon. And I appreciate those of you who choose to listen to these, and I hope they are a blessing to you and have helped you in your spiritual journey. Peace to all of you in Christ.